Oh my gosh, is that the cookies you make?
It is, yeah.
I'm gonna cry. Those cookies are so good.
Oh, we did it.
We did it.
Episode 100. Oh, wait.
What?
No, this is episode 2, isn't it?
2.
Oh, we still have a long ways to go. Never mind.
Sorry. We have a long way to go.
Well, I wrote up some introduction stuff. Is that okay if I read it?
Please read.
Okay. Welcome to Tales of Plenty, everyone. This is a podcast where a newly married couple share stories from around the world with each other. Each episode will have a new theme and tales that each of us have not shared with each other yet. And there was a few announcements I kind of want to go through, if that's all right with you, before we get started sharing our tales with each other. The first thing is, it probably sounds a lot better this time around.
Do I sound much better?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think, well, hopefully we both sound a little bit better. We picked up some gear. So we're a little bit more professional now and hopefully are not jarring everybody's ears a little bit.
We are legit.
Yep.
In our living room.
Can't hear any pops and our voices sound silky smooth.
Like butter.
Like butter.
And we have actual mics instead of using your AirPods.
And we can see each other now. We didn't tell anybody this, but we actually recorded in separate rooms the first episode. So we couldn't see each other. We just had to. That's why we talked over each other a little bit, because we actually couldn't see what the other person was doing.
It was very strange. I had to anticipate if he was going to talk or not, and I didn't do a very good job of it.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, we got some new gear, which is awesome. Also, kind of wanted to talk about our cadence for our episodes, because we didn't really mention that in our first episode, because we were still trying to figure that out. The plan for now is to release every other Tuesday. So this one should be coming out on Tuesday, if you're listening to it. And then we're going to start doing every other week. I have a full-time job, and Logan's very busy as well, so it's just the best cadence that we can come up with right now. What?
I said I'm not busy.
Yeah, you are. With your Animal Crossing island, you're very busy.
Oh my gosh.
That's a full-time job by itself.
I love Animal Crossing. I realize I might have to join Animal Crossing Anonymous because I have a small problem. But it's okay.
Yep. And the last announcement I just kind of want to go through real quick is that we'd love to hear feedback from you. We know there's probably not many of you out there right now, but that's totally fine.
We love you anyway.
We've been super excited just seeing even just a couple of listens. It's just really cool having our baby out there.
Kendall checks his phone religiously.
I do. I'm a little obsessed because it's just been a really fun experience, even though we're just one episode in and working on the second one now. It's just been a really fun, exciting experience. So we really do appreciate everybody that's been listening.
And your comments thus far. We appreciate the little feedback we got from the first episode.
Yeah, comments and some feedback that we've gotten. So just to continue to help us improve, things you could do is like us on Facebook, Instagram, review us on whatever podcast directory you have, such as Apple Podcasts. Also, if you have theme ideas for us or stories that you'd like us to share on the air, be sure to send us an email at talesofplenty@outlook.com. And be sure to add your name or handle if you'd like to be mentioned in the episode as well. Otherwise, if you don't mention it, we'll just keep you anonymous.
Yeah, we'd love to give you credit, and we'd love to have people on as well.
Mm-hmm. All right. Do you want to say our theme?
Sure. The theme for this week is food history.
I just realized I typoed on here and it said good history.
Good history.
As opposed to bad
We're
history.
gonna not talk about anything bad, just good history. That's really funny.
Yeah. So yeah, as Logan said, our theme is food history. So we've both found historical stories related to food. I will be talking about delicious chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, yay.
And pie.
Oh my gosh. 2 of like the best things.
Mm-hmm. What are you talking about?
I am talking about Mahogany Cake, which is a little known cake, like a precursor to red velvet cake. And I'm also talking about Jello Salads.
Okay.
Well,
we all picked sweeter things. Although pies can be savory too. I talk about that a little bit, actually.
Jello salads can also be savory.
Okay.
Just wait.
All right. Well, what's your first tale?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Tell me all about whichever one you're going to tell me about.
Okay. I'm telling you about Mahogany Cake first.
Okay.
So my sources are BuzzFeed, surprisingly. There is an article about 17 food history facts that this one I just ran through, and I saw this and I was like, wow, I've never heard of that. Mm-hmm. And Kitchen, spelled KITCHN.com.
Oh, yeah. I think I've actually been on the website before looking for recipes.
Yeah. So, and that's what I was going to say, actually. I don't bake personally, but Kendall, you do. You're definitely the baker and the chef in baking. This. And the chef in this relationship. He has a lot more experience than I do. But I do watch vast amounts of the Great British Baking Show. Hashtag Maryberry. Paul
You're
Hollywood.
On how many rewatches?
I have watched them so many times, probably every season, like at least 4 or 5 times. It's such a beautiful show. It's so well done. And they've never made this on the show. Maybe that's something they could make sometime. It's more of an American thing, but they've made American stuff on there before. Anyway, so Mahogany Cake is actually America's first chocolate cake. According to Anne Burns' book, American Cake, Mahogany Cake dates back to the late 1800s in America, and it is the first chocolate cake on record. It appeared in major cookbooks, such as the Philadelphia Cookbook, published in 1886. This cake is created using a Victorian-era technique for creating velvet cakes. That's what they used to call super soft, velvety interiors, thanks to the combo of using vinegar or buttermilk and baking soda. The chemical reaction of these two made a super silky soft batter. As I'm sure you know, I didn't know. I've never made red velvet cake before.
I've used some stuff I've made some stuff that have used that chemical reaction, but I also didn't really know why.
Well, fun fact, it's Victorian era technique. So You're actually using a very old.
Interesting.
An old technique. But towards the end of the 19th century in America, the concept of velvet cake was given the addition of a few spoonfuls of natural cocoa powder or squares of unsweetened chocolate. In the early days of cocoa manufacturing, cocoa was really acidic. So when natural cocoa met the combination of vinegar and soda, the bright red pigments in cacao known as anthocyanin are released. By the way, I spelled that out phonetically because I knew my brain would immediately shut off looking at that again as I'm speaking. So I wrote it out phonetically like a 5-year-old.
Nice.
So the combination of ingredients, the velvet cake took on a reddish brown hue, along with a hint of chocolate flavor, and the magic of the mahogany cake was born. So the original mahogany cake recipe was often paired with a white ermine frosting, also known as flour frosting.
What is ermine?
Well, I wanted to sidebar that the word ermine is actually a white weasel-like creature, and It's really cute. They used to be used as pelts for European royalty outerwear. They wanted to describe how silky and how white and like pure it looked. Very silky. So that was the only word that they really had to describe.
So they're describing how it looks and not how it tastes. They chopped up an ermine and put it in the frosting?
Correct, because that's gross.
Okay.
No, they're using what they had around them to describe. They didn't have silk. Right. So they wouldn't know
what silk was.
Silk. Yeah. As we know
smooth now. As ermine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Comes right off the tongue.
I don't know if a lot of people know what an ermine is, but that's okay. Hey, I'm going to post a photo. They're really, really cute. But disregarding its weird name, it's a light whipped buttercream and obviously silky and very luxurious.
Very ermine.
Very ermine. I'm going to tell you, you look so ermine today. Silky and luscious.
Silky and ermine and lush.
If you came out with a cologne, I dare you to call it.
I will call it ermine.
Ermine. The new scent by Kendall Renquist.
Ermine.
So ermine was the American cake icing of choice before confectioner's sugar became widely available as a baker's staple, and a clever way to frost cakes while not blowing through expensive and later rationed ingredients like butter and sugar. Throughout the early 1900s, mahogany cake continued to rise in popularity, with lots of twists on the concept becoming popular as the century progressed and new baking ingredients were introduced and became more affordable. The earliest versions of red velvet cakes are essentially mahogany cake recipes with either beet juice or food coloring added, but not a lot of beet juice because then it would taste like beets, and that's gross.
And then you're running into carrot cake territory.
And then it's carrot cake. Or you look like Dwight Schrute, who just bit into a beet and it turned your teeth red. That's bad. This also explains why the first versions of red velvet cakes...
Sorry for the interjection, but we're 2 for 2 for office jokes in our episodes.
What was the other one?
The Wikipedia one?
What Wikipedia
I don't know
one?
if that might be a deep cut for somebody, for some people. So we're 2 for 2 now.
Okay. High five over the table.
Boom.
Yes. But this also explains why the first versions of red velvet cakes don't call for cream cheese frosting. That didn't really trend until the 1960s, because ermine frosting was classically paired. So the writer and taste tester of this article said, when you take the red velvet cake back to its mahogany roots and experience its subtle vintage flavors and velvety crumb without the red number 40, it's every bit as delicious, if not more. Which I think is great because I very much dislike red velvet cake.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up until now. But I was surprised you picked an article for something that you have so much hatred for.
Yeah, it was interesting because so this story was like twists and turns for me because the caption caught my eye of the original chocolate cake. And I was like, yes, all about it. I love chocolate cake. Tell me more. And then it turns out that it morphed into the first red velvet cake, which is really interesting. But actually, I want to try this.
Really?
And the author of this article from kitchen.com, she said that she also sometimes in the recipe they have almond extract, and she doesn't like almond extract, so she substituted more vanilla extract. Mm-hmm. So it would just be slightly more buttercream like.
Yeah.
Instead of the cream cheese that I dislike.
Right, because that's really your problem. It's not the cake, it's the cream cheese frosting. It is, but
also biting into, this author's not kidding, like red number 40, you're biting into a blood red thing. And for whatever reason, that's really off-putting to me. That's very strange.
You're not a vampire?
Apparently not. I mean, like, I like watermelon, but that's a natural color. I feel like if people do red velvet cakes, it's always way crazy red. Garish.
No, it's not a natural red color.
No, it's a garish red
It's too bright.
Color. Yeah. Quentin Tarantino
like
red.
Neon.
Yeah. So that was my tale about mahogany cakes.
That was good. I liked it.
I hope you found it
interesting. I learned something new. Yeah, I did. Yeah. I didn't know that mahogany, and I guess that's kind of the origin also of red velvet, like you said. So that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Can I tell you about chocolate chip cookies?
Please.
All right. So I picked up information from a variety of sources. The majority ones that I got, I did get some information from Wikipedia and multiple other articles. One that was pretty useful that I'll do a shout out to was an article by John McCod. It was an article in the New Yorker that was celebrating the 75th anniversary of the chocolate chip cookie.
Oh my gosh.
And there was a lot of really useful information there.
How fun.
Yeah. So to kind of give you, the history of it, it was created by Ruth Wakefield, who ran the Toll House Inn in Whitman, Massachusetts.
Aww, Ruth.
Yeah, Ruth.
That was my grandma's name.
Ruth Wakefield. She was born in 1903 in Massachusetts and attended the Framingham State Normal School Department of Household Arts in 1924.
Goodness gracious.
It was a long name. I don't know how they fit that on their nameplate.
Their nameplate was 10 feet long.
while she was there, she actually also worked as a dietitian and gave lectures about food. In the 1930s, her and her husband decided to buy a tourist lodge, and they call it the Toll House Inn.
That's so cute.
And the reason why they decided to call it the Toll House Inn, because historically that was a location where people would pay tolls, change their horses back in like olden days. You know, whenever you come water the horses, or you might just, I guess, pick up a new horse.
As you do.
Yeah.
Mine's broken down. I'd like to rent a horse, please.
And they would also, stop for a home cooked meal before they continue on their travels. Her cooking quickly became famous around the region, in particular her lobster dinners and desserts.
Lobster dinners?
Yeah.
What? Oh, well, Massachusetts, fancy. You got that good seafood.
Yeah. So it was probably amazing lobster out there. So she's quite famous for all of her desserts. And one in particular that came about was the chocolate chip cookie, which she went through several renditions of it until she officially put it in one of her cookbook that she put out pretty much yearly, titled Toll House Tried and True Recipes Cookbook. And it was first published in her 1938 edition of that cookbook.
Aww.
Which my first reaction was not awe. My first reaction was, how did the world go so long without chocolate chip cookies?
Good point.
Not until 1938 a chocolate chip cookie was not invented.
That's a really good point.
How do you exist before that time? I know 2020 sucks and we're in COVID like craziness right now and society craziness, but at least we have chocolate chip cookies. That's all I'm going to say about that.
True.
At least we have chocolate chip cookies.
Do you think BC stands for before cookies?
It might. One note that I did want to make was her recipe does use Nestle chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
As you might be able to make that connection as to why they now have Nestle Toll House.
Oh, that's so fun.
There's some myths around kind of how the cookie was made. A lot of myths believe it was made by accident. One of the myths was that she had to use Nestle chocolate after running out of nuts, because most of her cookies involved just using nuts, and she would pair them with ice cream. So it'd be basically you get some ice cream and then you get like a little cookie in there too.
Oh, like a little surprise.
Yeah. Or just like off the side or something like that.
Oh, like here's another vessel for your ice cream.
Yeah.
In case you decide to lose your spoon.
So that was one myth. And then another myth was, this one was funny, was that the vibrations of the industrial mixer was vibrating everything so much that it eventually shook the container of chocolate into the industrial mixer.
That's a lovely
and all of it
picture.
fell in. And before she knew it, she had chocolate chip cookie dough.
Oh no, all this chocolate just magically fell into my mixer and it's all mixed and I can't pick them out. I guess I'll bake them.
There was a third rumor I just remembered too, was that she put it in thinking that the chocolate would actually like completely melt, but it didn't. It held its shape.
Mm.
So chocolate
she was
chips.
like, whoa.
Yeah. And then she served that and it became the chocolate chip cookie. But from what I could tell from all the resources I kind of found was that it wasn't done by accident. She did this on purpose. She made the cookie.
Atta girl.
Which, when you think about it, I mean, she was a trained dietitian and a chef. And chefs are always known for experimenting. And she was already like at the top of her game with her desserts.
Yeah.
So I believe that it was no accident. I fully think that she was just trying to make something new and came up with the Toll House chocolate chip cookie.
I love her. So,
it was kind of becoming popular within her area, Massachusetts. A lot of people would come by and want chocolate chip cookies. And
wouldn't you just knock on the door? Hi, Ruth.
Yeah. I'd stop there for a chocolate chip cookie.
Do you have any extras?
Please? I'm desperate. I need to get my fix.
I need it.
And that date of 1938 is important because if you know, right around that time is when World War II started. I believe that was 1939, if I'm not mistaken. So one of the things that people in her region would do is that they would bake chocolate chip cookies or purchase them from the Toll House Inn and send them off to the soldiers fighting the war.
Oh.
And I guess, soldiers from that region started sharing them with soldiers, just all around them. And they became more and more popular. And soldiers would write home asking for Toll House cookies, Toll House chocolate chip cookies.
I love that.
So it started becoming more and more popular beyond just Massachusetts and became a nationwide thing where Nestle was even making ads talking about baking cookies for your soldiers, the cookies for that soldier boy of yours.
Aw, not like soldier boy.
No, not that soldier boy.
For your soldier boy.
Soldier boy.
Got it.
Of yours.
Got it.
So eventually, the Toll House cookie became so popular, and the recipe was using Nestle chocolate that Nestle decided to make Ruth an offer. Ruth gave Nestle the rights to the recipe for $1 and a lifetime supply of chocolate.
Yes. Yes. But she wanted that lifetime supply of chocolate. Girl, that you get what you want. That's what you want. You ask for it. Did she get it? Please tell me.
Yeah, she got it.
Oh.
Yeah, she gave the rights to the recipe and they gave her thing.
Good. She deserves all the free chocolate she wants.
So Ruth passed away in 1977 at the age of 73.
Oh.
But Nestle continues to put her original recipe for her chocolate chips on all of their bags of chocolate.
Oh my gosh, is that the cookies you make?
It is, yeah.
I'm gonna cry. Those cookies are so good.
I was just about to say, I didn't know this, and I thought that was really fascinating, but that's the recipe I use that's my go-to recipe for chocolate chip cookies.
I'm literally gonna cry. I love his cookies so much. They're so good. I don't know, that's so sweet that they still put her recipe on the back.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. I'm sorry.
She is actually crying right now. It's really sweet. I'm sorry.
There's something wrong with me.
No, nothing wrong with you.
I just think that's really sweet.
Yeah.
Because they could have underhandedly just been like, oh yeah, it's our recipe. But the fact that they're still giving her credit.
Yeah.
That means a lot.
Yeah. So it still says, I believe it still says but it's been a while since I looked at the bag, but I think it says, Nestle Toll House original recipe. And it is my go-to. I've tried, I wrote this down. I've tried baker's dozens of recipes for cookies.
Cute.
But I always go back to that one because that's just the best one. It's the one I grew up with my mom making it. And it's the one that I use because it's the best recipe I can find for a chocolate chip cookie. And it's the original.
I love that.
By Ruth Wakefield.
She's a pioneer and a hero. I love it.
And she is, yeah.
For my emotional outburst.
She helped comfort many a soldier in World War II with her chocolate chip cookie. It became more famous than she ever realized it would.
Yeah. Wasn't that the way of it, though? Mm-hmm. You just kind of create something and it just takes off.
It does, yeah. Sometimes. Hint, hint, podcast. So what is your second story?
Well, it's not nearly as heartfelt as yours. Mine's a little more goofy. I didn't know this episode was called Make Logan Cry Over Cookies.
It is.
So, my second story is about Jello Salads, which seems really random.
Yeah, a little bit.
However,
I wasn't going to say anything, but...
I know it seems random, but I was on that same BuzzFeed article that I was talking about earlier, and there was just Jello Salads as a mention to kind of whatever they were talking about. 17 interesting foods or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Jello Salads are so fascinating. I want to know where these came from. Who thought of that? So I looked it up. That's one source. Wikipedia, our old go-to, is there. I use them as a source too. what'scookinginamerica.net. And there was a fantastic article from SeriousEats.com. I can link the author's name and stuff. It was a really well-researched article. It seemed very academic, sort of very, very well-researched. So this guy, I believe, was a food historian. So I definitely want to link his name in there. First of all, have you ever seen a Jello salad? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, isn't it like just basically Jello in made in one of those molds, and then there's like a bunch of stuff floating in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's going to be some pictures in the show artwork of Jello salad because they're fascinating to look at. So let me jump in. Jello salad or gelatin salad, jelly salad, jelly dish, congealed salad, or molded salad. Those are all alternative names. Molded salad made me laugh. Is a quote-unquote salad made with flavored gelatin, fruit, sometimes grated carrots, or other vegetables. Other ingredients may include cottage cheese, cream cheese, marshmallows, nuts, or pretzels, or the kitchen sink. Literally, that list is not all-inclusive. You can literally put anything inside a Jello. And since we're on the office topic, Jim put a stapler in a Jello bowl.
Yeah.
So clearly you can put anything in Jello. So Jello salads were popular in the 1960s and are now considered retro. Because of its many ingredients, the resulting dish has little bits of interior color against a colored gelatin background. So it can sometimes look very pretty with all of the suspended colors.
I mean, I guess if you look at it in the right light, sure.
Correct. And it depends on what the background of the gelatin color is. Like,
if I close my eyes enough, it'll look pretty.
Well, it's just, you have to think of it kind of like an artwork. It's green, and let's say it's a fruit one. There's cherries, there's raisins, and oranges. Like, there's all different pretty like colors in there.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them were made with fruits, though, as I said.
That's disturbing. I don't know if I want to know what else they've used.
I don't think I really got into it. Or maybe I did. Let me see. I have a lot going on here. Yes. So for example, a Jello salad might have a green from a lime flavored gelatin, brown from nuts or pretzels, white from bits of cottage cheese, and red and orange from fruit cocktail. Therefore, it has a salad appearance. Salad here meaning little chopped up pieces of food, although it's held in firm gelatin. There is also a more pronounced salad, quote unquote, theme with variants containing mayonnaise or another salad dressing. Here, the gelatin would be unsweetened.
Boy, they're just playing fast and loose with that salad word, aren't they?
It was in quotes. It's a generous term. Salad.
Sorry. Just when you think salad, you think healthy, not like mayonnaise-filled Jello. Woo!
Not the mayonnaise would sometimes be inside the gelatin to give it a more opaque color.
Okay.
Like you can't see all the way through it. Like
sure.
It's kind of cloudy. Sometimes, well, I don't want to tell you yet because I'm not there yet.
Okay, we can keep going. I have gross images in my head.
They're very fascinating to look at. I love looking at pictures of these. They're fascinating. Anyway, the origins of Jello salad can be traced back to a dish called Perfection Salad, created in 1905 by Mrs. John E. Cook of Newcastle, Pennsylvania. It won third prize in a Better Homes and Gardens recipe contest. It won. Third place. Third. I forgot to look at what won first.
Was it a chocolate chip cookie?
No, that predated your little lady. Anyway, Jello salads are a common feature of U.S. communal meals such as potlucks, probably because they are inexpensive and easy to prepare, yet attractive and tasty. Also, depending on your persuasion. The salad has a strong regional presence in Utah and surrounding states. Apparently, Utah is the Jello capital of the United States.
Huh. I didn't know it.
Fascinating. Yeah. And Jello has strong ties with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Really?
Yes. Wow. They love Jello.
Huh.
There was more on that. I didn't include it in my talk or in my notes here, but it made me giggle that Utah consumes the most amount of Jello. So let me back up a second and talk about gelatin itself. Gelatin was first used in Egyptian times. Traces of gelatin were found in a pharaoh's grave in the form of glue. So gelatin was once considered a sign of wealth. Before the advent of prepared gelatin, only members of the elite classes could afford it. It took hours to render and then turn it into edible dishes. So it was a sign that the host or hostess had the means to support a kitchen staff with the skill and the time to create such a dish. When gelatin became available commercially, it was still a symbol of culinary sophistication. Not a lot of people would attempt to use it. It can be very picky, very finicky. You had to have the skills to understand how to use it. 1682, history's first reference to gelatin was of a Frenchman named Denis Papin. So Denis Papin recorded his research experiments on the subject. He was experimenting in a method of removing the glutinous material from animal bones by boiling. The product that he produced had no taste, no odor, and when combined with liquid, no color, but it was pure protein that gave sort of a thickness to a liquid. So that was kind of the first instance of it. Fast forward to 1874 when gelatin became used as a thickener and preservative for jams, jellies, and marmalades. And then in 1894, Charles Knox developed the world's first pre-granulated gelatin. He packaged dry sheets of gelatin and then added liquid to the sheets when ready to use. And then that would make Jello molds and, not Jello, excuse me, gelatin. Jello is a brand, sorry. Gelatin molds and desserts. I saw this technique used a lot in Great British Baking Show whenever they would need something with like a wobble, like a panna cotta or like a custard or lots of things.
Yeah, I was going to say that's something that's still used today. Are those gelatin sheets?
Correct. So this must still be a good technique for bakers if they're still using Knox's sheet technique method today. Yeah, so that was a quickie little history. Back to perfection salad. It was basically a salad suspended in clear, unflavored Jello. I want to link the recipe in the show notes and post pictures because it is marginally horrifying. Let me just read off a couple of ingredients to you.
And this was called perfection salad, right?
That was her original recipe. This is on vintagerecipecards.com called perfection salad. Some of the ingredients include vinegar, shredded carrots, celery, cabbage,
get it,
green pepper,
love it,
chopped pimento.
Even better.
Would you like to see a picture?
And this was a Jello salad?
This is a Jello salad, the original.
The original?
Like the first one that made its debut.
Was this supposed to be sweet?
No, this is a side dish meant to impress the eye with its shape,
but not
size. It probably tasted all right.
Poop.
I mean, it would taste like a salad. You have the vinegar in there. You have vegetables in there. The only kind of odd thing to us would be the fact that it's squishy, slightly. But the vegetables inside would not be squishy. But I'm about to turn around my computer. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ew. That looks so gross. What is wrong with that thing? How is that pretty? I'm sorry. I don't understand how that's perfection or pretty.
To be fair, we are looking at it from a different lens. We are used to having salads in a bowl. This, we're talking about, years and years and years ago. Different lens.
That, and when I think gelatin, I almost always think sweet, like Jello, the brand.
Right.
I don't really think savory.
And that's okay. So I definitely want to post pictures of that because it is slightly horrifying.
That was really disturbing.
Sales of sugar and therefore Jello were rationed during World War I, but in the interwar period during the 20s and 30s, the popularity of gelatin salads soared. The Depression spurred homemakers to stretch their ingredients as far as possible, and the introduction of lime-flavored Jello in the early 1930s gave the salad trend a major boost. Gelatin dishes came to be seen as the perfect feminine food. Jello salads were dainty and refined, but affordable too, a way for ordinary women to aspire to a higher social status. Because before that, people were baking with flour and eggs and butter and sugar, and during the war and in that interwar period, you couldn't have any of that. That was very expensive. So if you were a up-and-coming lady in society and your husband is off at war and you want to just show that you are still holding down the fort, you want to still impress your friends, it's still a very class-oriented society. You still want to show that you are a woman of class. So you want to produce something. You want to bake something, you want to do anything. So people got creative. Yes, as World War II began, these Jello desserts or salads were a way to prove to you and your friends that you can still do luscious entertaining in spite of shortages and rations. End quote. After the war, I went back to New York.
After the war.
I went back to New York. Okay.
Wow.
Sorry.
We've watched Hamilton too many times.
We've seen Hamilton too many times. A practice law. Corporations that had begun producing instant and processed food products to feed the troops were in no rush to slow down production. And that's how processed foods made their way into American homes. Cooking was easier, faster, and more efficient now with these processed products, but wives were still seen as the ones to actually do the cooking. And unfortunately, making instant desserts were seen as lazy and heartless, lacking the same love and care that a home-cooked meal had. So total double standard. The women are trying to hold down the fort, still be classy, still be amazing. They don't have the means to do that anymore because now they're inundated with all these fast products. The instant everything, instant soups, instant whatever's, cans, instead of I'm going to go to the market and I'm going to make everything fresh. So in society, it was still seen as kind of heartless. Like, oh, is that instant? You didn't really do anything with that. That wasn't cool in society. So what's a woman to do? She's going to add more effort into instant foods. So instead of cooking from scratch, they still used their prepared foods, but doctored them up with additional ingredients or dramatic presentations that made it clear they spent real time and effort on the meal. Because that's what you eat with your eyes first, right?
Right.
Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood in GBB say that all the time. So if you want to make something, it might not be that fancy, but if you make it look good, that's important. Enter the early 1950s with Jello salads that we know and love, or maybe you hate. Gelatin-based dishes were a staple of this genre, using sinkers and floaters, various vegetables and fruits that they knew would either sink to the bottom or buoyant enough to float. So like marshmallows versus a cherry, or, hard and soft kind of thing. They would think about it beforehand. They would want to achieve a certain look, have it in their mind. You could fold cream for sweet, mayo or for savory, in order to give the Jello sort of an opaque appearance. If you swirled it in just enough before the Jello set, you could make it look swirly, kind of give it some extra design, like marble, a marble effect. So it was really quite interesting, the ingenue of all of these women trying to still do their thing with what they had at home. Copper Jello molds themselves were things to be prized, coming in every shape and size, from bundt style, just your round, normal bundt cake, to shapes of lobsters we have today. We have pineapples, flamingos. If you search copper Jello molds online, you can get any shape that you want. They're quite fascinating. People even hang them on their walls as decor now. I couldn't find any research if people used to do it, but I feel like people would have taken pride in their molds, because some of them were two-dimensional, like that one that I showed you was 2 tiers. Yeah. That would have been quite something to look at. So I would assume that you would have that displayed somewhere. Some artisan probably crafted that, and I'm sure it was very expensive to get that mold. So I'm sure they would display it as a piece of art. Anyway, that's the history of Jello salads. So let's go make one.
Wow. There was more to that than I thought there was going to be.
Wasn't that interesting?
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know any of that.
I didn't either. And so it kind of took my pride out of the equation, because I was looking at this and I was like, that's disgusting. Who would eat that? And now that I know that it was really a work of art and just invention. I mean, necessity is the mother of invention. Right. I forgot who said that, but it's a phrase. But so that was good for me to know. So now I'll try not to laugh at Jello salads anymore. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of history of women trying to do their best.
Yeah.
By putting that stuff out there.
Yeah. So it may be funny on TV shows and, stuff like, oh, Jello, but I'm happy to know that there's a lot more behind it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Tell me your last one, babe.
All right. Would you like to hear about pies?
I do.
So getting into the pies, this kind of went, well, a couple things. This kind of went a lot further back in time than I realized it was going to. So I'm going to try to, for the sake of time, I'm going to mostly try to cover the highlights.
Sweet. Highlights!
Without getting into too much detail about some of it. Just because, yeah, it really goes back far.
Good to know.
Also, I know we've been trying to reference our sources. And to be totally honest, I basically just got all of this off of Wikipedia because I did do research into it and found multiple other sources. But then when I compared them to the Wikipedia page, it was basically me reading the Wikipedia page again. It seemed like everybody just, I don't know if everybody just combined their information onto the Wikipedia page or just copied and pasted from the Wikipedia page. But it felt like I was reading plagiarized content. Every time I pulled up a new article about the origin of pie, it was just slightly different, but basically exactly what that page said. So, long story short, this is basically all from Wikipedia.
How funny.
But also verified through multiple other articles to be hopefully accurate.
Thank you.
So, you can actually trace the origin of pie pastry back to the ancient Greeks.
Oh.
And there are mentions of confectionaries including small pastries filled with fruit in the plays by Aristophanes. Fast forwarding a bit, the Romans later were known to create pastry covers intended to preserve the juices of meats during cooking. So that they don't dry out.
It's like a meat pie.
Kind of, but you actually weren't supposed to eat the pastry part. It was only used, it's basically like aluminum foil or something nowadays. It was used just to cover it up so that it preserves the juices, but it wasn't actually meant to be eaten because it was basically just flour and water.
Oh my gosh, how funny.
And it was just this thick like coating of like a dough.
How fun. And people were like, oh, I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't have tasted good. It was just flour and dough or flour and water.
How funny.
Yeah. So that's what they basically used it for. And it wasn't until much later that they started kind of creating richer pastries with like fat and stuff in them to actually eat the doughs or the pastries. In 160 BC, Marcus Porcius Cato, a Roman statesman, wrote De Agricultura, and in it he notes the recipe for a popular cake/pie called placenta.
Okay, no. No. I hope that translates to something else.
I don't know, but it said placenta in it.
I was even thinking if you said it like Italian, placenta.
Placenta.
That doesn't sound any better.
No?
Ew.
I'll try to not say it.
This is my pie placenta. Ew.
So, and what that word can be correlated to is kind of more like a modern day cheesecake, but on a pastry base rather than, a lot of cheesecakes have like a graham cracker base or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know.
It was more
I don't like cheesecake, so I didn't really know what the bottom was made of.
Yeah. Oftentimes it's kind of like a graham cracker crust or something like that. But they use more of a pastry crust. So pie making started to spread more and more with the development of the Roman Empire because of their roads. As people would, they had pretty efficient roads, so people would start to travel on them.
All roads lead to Rome.
Yeah, and take pies with them and also pass on pies and recipes to people. Because they were actually considered good travel food pretty often because they kept pretty well and they were just easy to bring along and pretty easy to cook. Noted a couple times throughout the article was that a lot of times to make the pies, you didn't really need an expensive brick oven to bake in, which you needed for a lot of things like bread. These pies that they would make were able to just be cooked over an open fire. So it was a lot easier to cook them as well as bring them on the open road as you travel.
Did it say if they were made in a tin or if they were like hand raised? I'm just using terms that I've heard off of the
I don't know. I couldn't find anything about that. It wasn't really mentioned. I guess there was one thing where originally the crusts were very, very thick because they actually would make the crust first. Again, going back to that thing, it was made more to be the vessel for the filling. It wasn't necessarily made to be consumed as well.
I see. So they probably just slapped it together with their hands.
They might have, yeah. It didn't really give me much information. It did say later on they started to use more earthenware stuff to be more reusable instead of, and that's I think when maybe the pie crust started to kind of take on more of like a richer flavor. That's my assumption. It didn't mention that, but I'm assuming at that point they were like, well, we still want this piece, so let's try to do something with it rather than it being the vessel itself for the filling.
Because that's almost at that point like your takeaway tin for takeout.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
your plasticware.
Yeah.
You wouldn't eat it.
Right.
I just wonder like if they took the lid off and like sucked all the stuff out, like, or did they like, yeah.
Yeah.
That's just my brain.
I don't know. I did read though that a lot of the recipes focused on the fillings and that was basically the recipe was the filling. And it's just like, make the thing so that you can hold it.
Interesting.
And they didn't really focus on that piece of it.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. So fast forwarding again into medieval times, kind of medieval Britain times, and pies were primarily savory. They used a lot of meats like beef and lamb and wild duck and spiced them with pepper, currants, or dates. Pies with tops on them were called coffins, and pies without tops were called traps.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or nakey pies.
I don't know if anybody in medieval Europe called them nakey pies.
Okay, fine.
That might be a more modern version of that.
Fine.
I'm just reviewing my notes. But yeah, that's kind of, again, what I was talking about was the crusts were very hard and they were used more as the vessel for the filling. There were sweet pies in medieval times, but they were called tarts rather than pies. So they were something kind of different and they weren't quite sweet pies like we know today. And it wasn't actually until the 15th century that pies started to actually contain custards and dried fruits. In the 16th century, in fact, I believe is the first fresh fruit pie that was recorded was when Queen Elizabeth I was served a cherry pie.
Ooh. She's my cherry pie. Okay. I don't want to get copy stricken.
So kind of fast forwarding again, pies are doing their thing over in Europe. And then
they're just being
they're
pies.
Just doing their thing, being pies.
Jinx.
And then you go to, when America's being founded and pilgrims are coming over from Europe. They brought a lot of the recipes over from Europe. A lot of them were mostly their savory meat style pies. That was a useful thing that they had because when the winters were harsh in America during the early times when they were just settling, pies were a useful thing to do because going back to ancient Rome times and even ancient Greece times when people are traveling, pies were useful because they could preserve pretty well and last a long time, as well as be kind of like reused. As the filling was being eaten, they could actually just kind of put more stuff in it to try to lengthen out the lifetime of that pie before they really had to give up on it. So it was a useful staple, especially during winter times when they're just trying to survive with whatever they have.
And that makes sense if at that point it was just made with flour and water. It's not like it would, go bad or spoil because of eggs or something. Just flour and water.
Yeah. It was basically used as the container.
Isn't that funny?
The cut crust of it.
Huh.
They mostly, stuck to meat pies. There was some more sweet pies and things like that. And they also started to have to adapt to the ingredients in the new world because there was different stuff here. I mean, there was a lot of similar things, but there was also different stuff here that they've never seen before. So a lot of the pies kind of started to take on new shapes. And as more and more waves of immigrants came from all these various cultures and things like that, pies continued to take on new forms and start to also become more refined as people kind of travel out and got more settled and things weren't as harsh all the time. So people could actually start, I think, experimenting more and eventually you kind of get to the point where you're here and we have pies that we actually consume the crust. And it's like sweet pies, like pumpkin pies and cherry pies and apple pie. cream pies, things
Blueberry
like that.
pie.
Pumpkin.
Blueberry.
That were all inspired, by all these different cultures and immigrants as they came in to America.
Blueberry pie.
And blueberry pie.
I love blueberry pie.
I made a good one not that long ago.
You did make a good one, actually. Yeah. That was really good.
It was very tasty.
Did it have a top on it? I don't.
No, it was a lattice.
That's right, it was.
Yeah.
You laced your own lattice.
I did.
That was fun to watch.
Yeah. Pies have always been a popular thing, be that savory or sweet. But in the 1870s, nutritional sciences started becoming a thing. And it was found that the heavy pie crusts were difficult to digest. So the popularity of pies kind of started to slow down.
Well, if you ate the whole thing, I mean, yeah, it'd be difficult to process.
Yeah. And also another thing that started to slow the popularity of pies was women starting to enter the workforce and become part of the labor, especially during the war when all the men were off fighting. Women had to join the workforce. So a lot of times a pie was kind of a very frequent thing, like every week one was done, but it turned into more of a on occasion item.
And plus with supplies rationed, it was probably much
exactly.
harder.
Yeah, because, like you said, flour and other items were in short supply and you need flour for pies. So that's kind of hard to do when you don't have flour.
Mm-hmm.
The pie popularity came back as there was new products that came out, like instant pudding and ready-made pie crust, because you could just whip up a pie really quick now, instead of spending all those hours creating a pastry dough, baking it, creating the filling, baking it again, etc., etc. It takes some time to put a pie together. But now you can throw up. That's disgusting.
Please don't throw up. Don't.
You can whip together a pie using, ready-made pie crust, instant chocolate pudding, some Cool Whip on there, boom, pie done in like 30 minutes. So yeah, today, there's many different types of pies from different cultures, and it remains a savory staple for meals or a sweet treat to enjoy with friends and family.
Lovely.
Yeah. So I know that wasn't quite as detailed as the cookie one, but there was quite a bit of information that spanned many, many years. And it went way further back than I thought it was going to be. So
yeah,
I kind of decided to go with more like high level treats. So if you want to learn anything more about pies, do your own research.
We're not going to do it. I'm just kidding. Maybe we'll expound upon it at a later
We
episode.
only have a limited amount of time that we can get into stuff.
Yes. And also, it's getting close to Kendall's bedtime, so there's only so much that he can recite before bedtime.
Yeah, we're doing this later again. But hopefully I sound awake. I'm not super tired. But there you go. Those are my two stories, chocolate chip cookies and pies.
Thank you, babe.
Yeah.
Well, since we have a couple more minutes left, do you want to do our new bit?
Yeah. Should we explain what we're going to do as kind of our sign off?
So we're going to try this out. Y'all let us know if you like it. We're going to play Wikipedia roulette. Kendall, please tell everybody what you showed me earlier today. I did not know this existed.
Yeah. So as I was doing research on Wikipedia, as well as other sites, I found a nifty little button called the random page button, I think it's called, right?
The random article page.
Random article page.
It's on
random
the
article
left-hand side.
Yes.
If you type in something or just click on Wikipedia and click English, it's on the left-hand side.
Yeah. So you just hit random article and it'll do exactly what it says. It'll give you a random article.
So we're going to read the first couple of lines of whatever the internet chooses to give us.
Yep. And that'll be our sign off. So if you want to learn more about it, check it out.
All right, here I go. Ready?
Ready.
1, 2, 3. Hina Sagita. I'm not kidding. Hina Sagita, born January 31st, 1997, is a Japanese football player. She plays for INAC Kobe Leonessa and the Japan women's national football team. She's only 23. Killing it. Thank you, random article Wikipedia.
Well, I'm Kendall Runquist.
And I'm Logan Runquist.
And this has been Tales of Plenty.
Woo-hoo.
Bye, everyone.